Okay, well, today we are going to be showing you how to, didn't need to open that. I'm going to show you how to get your working around in Visual Basic. Now, if you don't already have Visual Basic, you might want to watch my other video on how to download it. And you can find that at my website, which was displayed in the beginning and will be displayed later in the video. Okay, so as you can see, I have some of my recent projects right here. I'm just going to show you how to work around. So right here is the Open Project button, right here. Yep, right around my mouse. And then right here is the New Project button. Now that's what you're going to want to use. Now this is how it'll look by default. It has some of my settings on it. But this is Visual Basic 2010 Express Edition from Microsoft. So, now the easiest type of program to make is a Windows Forms application. So, you just gotta give it a second to load up. And in my next video, I will be showing you how to make your first program, which will be a simple text box. Now, to get into the toolbox, scroll over and your mouse comes over, and then you come out and it goes away. It's one of those auto hide features. But right up here, there's a little pin, and it says auto hide with the tool description. If you click on that, it will resize itself and it will stay there. And right now, I'm going to show you a little bit of things you can do with Visual Basic 2010 Express. So, as you can see down here, there's an error list that does not normally be there. But you can click right up here or click Control W and then Control E, like so, and it will show up. Or you can just click up there. Now this will be when you're writing or writing code, which will be in one of my later lessons. It will show you if you have any errors. And over here you can see all the common controls: pointer, button, checkbox, web browser, which seems kind of funny, but we will be using it later. And then here's your containers. We'll learn about those in our next lesson. Menus and toolbars and everything else we'll be learning in our next lesson. And we will be making a program. You will learn about the tools in the next lesson or two. And by the end of the program, we are going to, at the end of this series, we're going to make a web browser. So we're going to lead up to that. So, you want to get it how you like it. You want to get your user interface how you want to have it. Now, as you can see, you can add or remove buttons, but I just keep them all there. It's not worth the time. Sometimes you use them, sometimes you don't. But, okay, so why did data sources open? Alright, I just closed data sources. I never use it, and if I do need it, I can come right up to the view window, click on it, wrong button. You can come right over here and there's the data sources. So over here, later I will be teaching about the properties window in one of our next lessons, in the next lesson, because we're going to use the properties window a lot. Now, in the next lesson, I'll only show you a little bit about it, but alright, so let's just take a button here. Okay, so we have our form with the button on it. Now, I'm just using this to show you how to start debugging or running the program. Now, we don't have any errors, so we're all set to run. Now, you can also see the undo button, which will take the button away, and the redo button, which will put it back. Now, since you don't have any errors, you can run the program, which I will do right now. I will start debugging the program. You can also do it by start debugging, or hit F5. Now we have a button. It's not very useful, but you can click on it. Now we can also resize the button by clicking on it and resizing it like so. And other things, we can also pull out a label and just kind of label it button. I'm just going to label it button really quick. Okay, and now we're going to label the button button. Okay, now everything has its own unique name. And these names can be anything, but we tend to use. Alright, so that's in form mode. Label 1. We also like to say what it is instead of just label 1. So, this is a very good part of learning. Now we like to rename it so we know what it is. So, normally I like to use this system, and that's what we're going to use for this series. And during this series, when I do something on the screen, it's very helpful if you pause the video and then stop to try what I did and refer back to the video as you may need to. But we like to name it stuff like button 1. So maybe, well, not button 1, but it's a label, so we want to write what the label is first. So what's it labeling? It's labeling the button. So BTN label. Okay, so now we have our name, button, label, and it's a good way because you can come right up here and find everything you need, and it's good to know what it does. Now we're going to name the button button. Weird name, but we're not using it for anything right now. Now we can debug it. We can debug it again. The label works. We've got our label. We can resize it. Acts just as a regular Windows program. Now we can also rename the form. It's a Windows form application. Now there's little to no graphic. It's all graphic. Sorry about that. It's all graphic. You can click and drag, and that makes it really easy to write. But we can also rename our form right now. I'm gonna name. Now this is gonna be the name. This is not the text that goes on it. That we'll learn in the next lesson or two. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna rename the form lesson, and this is an introduction. It will mess me up if we had this lesson 1. Now this is how I name it. I'll name my file stuff. Okay, so give it a minute. Let's try debugging it and see if it works. Form 1 still. Well, it's got less than intro, so maybe we gotta hit return or enter. Okay, well that's not working at the moment, but we'll come back to that later. Now, a very important part of your experience is knowing how to save the program. Now, generally, if we had, like, I'm going to double click this, show you the code. See, it opens up, automatically types most of the things. So, it does the name, as you can see right here. And then it click. We can change this by all the types of actions by the user, but we're not going to do that right now. That'll do my next lesson. I'm just trying to teach you everything right now. But say I were wanting to make something, this is where the code would be. So I'll do a simple program you'll learn in the next lesson. Okay. So we've got the message box show, which you will be learning in the next lesson. And we're just going to make it say, in quotes, hello. Or hello. Let's make it hello. And we're going to go back to our form. I'm going to do this. Now I told it so when you click on the button, it opens up the message box and says hello. So, that is all for this lesson, and any other things that may come up, that's your basic things. And to save it, you just click save all, because now we have code. You just type in something. I'm going to use a lesson intro, and then it also does the solution name. Now we're not going to really want to play with that now, but before we go, I want to show you where it saves to. After you download Visual Basic, and you can. Alright, so we're just gonna, it's in your document. You find Visual Studio 2010. I have Studio, it used to be Basic, and then you go to Projects. I have all my projects. You go to the project that you had, and it has your Visual Basic file, so you can open it. And if you go into here, go into your bin, and I believe it's a debug. I haven't done this in a while. This is how you can get the actual file right here. Mine doesn't like to open a lot. Yeah, it's in debug because it's debugged. And the term debug comes from when computers were so big and they had to actually take the bugs out of it. So, again, Visual Basic. I'm going to just stop the recording. And I hope you watch my next video on, we're going to make our first program, Lesson 1. Thank you for watching, and you can visit me on, one second, let me get a word processor open. Sticky notes will work. Here's my website, where you can watch all kinds of videos, or you can go right to my YouTube channel. It is www.rivertech.webs.com. And if you have any suggestions or anything, you can email me at rivertechnh